Okay, my material is rammed earth. I'm Isobel Taylor in group 6. So I've chosen rammed earth because for our ITaylor it's a site of kind of collection and gathering what's been deposited in the river and around the city. So similar to when you're using rammed earth, you're collecting what's on site and using that to build with. So it's made up of sand, gravel, clay, sometimes chalk and sometimes lime. And it's used all around the world, so it's really versatile, and the only thing it really doesn't like is getting wet, so you have to be careful to keep it completely dry. So it's perfect for kind of dry, arid countries and things, but I mean it's used across Northern Europe as well. So I did a workshop with Roland Keeble in which we made a kind of base for a bench. So this is the formwork we used. So we had clay bricks, which we then had to crush up to use the clay, sand, and then mixed all that together. So there was about 20% clay. And then built the formwork, which is just kind of recycled timber, old scaffold boards, build a box, stick the thread bars through, tension it all up, and then you work in this, we did 10cm lifts, ramming each time, and then build it up and up and up. And you can experiment with the textures, because it picks up any textures of the formwork, so we used corrugated iron and things. So I took samples of those materials that we used, which is in here, and did this kind of composition test where you put it all in, then add water, then shake it, then leave it for a minute, then measure what settled out, and that's the sand. Then shake it again, leave it for half an hour, and then you get the silt that settles, and then you leave it for 24 hours. And that gives you the clay content, and from that you can work out percentages. So that's the one that I used for the rammed earth workshop, and then this is a sample from site, just to compare the difference. And there's the same sand, there's sand and silt, but it's difficult to see quite how much clay there is. So that's that. And then I started making different samples using my device from earlier. So this is the kind of the standard sample using the same mix I used with Roland, and then leaving it to dry. So this has been drying for a few days, but really you need to leave it for weeks, and gradually it just gets stronger and stronger. As the clay dries, it contracts, and that's what gives it its strength and compression. And then once I had some of these samples, one of the tests I did, because I wanted to see how it would react to water, so I just poured water on it, and then it kind of immediately started eroding it, and then I wanted it to go inside, and then I put it in the freezer to see if it would then expand as it froze and crack it, and it has done a bit, because it wasn't like that at the beginning. That was one test. And then in our ITaylor we have a furnace because it's a foundry. So I bored a hole out of one of the samples and then lit a fire in the middle and tried to bake the inside. And obviously rammed earth has really good thermal mass, and so we're looking to harness that in the ITaylor, which is why we're looking at rammed earth. And then this one is this one here, which is made up, rather than mixing all of the contents together before I put it in the press, I just did it as I went along, so you get the different layers of all the different materials, and this has got clay in this one. So it's still quite soft, because it's still quite wet. And then I also looked at using the earth not as the positive but as the negative as well. So I used it as the formwork rather than the infill, and then poured plaster in to get a plaster cast of the negative. So this is this. And then I got one of these and stood on it to see how strong it really was, because I was quite amazed at how hard this is, like just can't dent it at all. And it did take my weight, but as soon as the distribution becomes uneven, it crumbles and disintegrates. And then this one was thinking about how the heat affected the material. So this is just clay and then putting it in the oven, and this has only gone up to like 200 degrees, and for like a typical biscuit firing it needs to be about 1000, but it's still, I was surprised how hard it got. And then this is probably the thing I'm most interested in, because I was thinking about how the rammed earth could surround the furnace in the foundry, as to kind of insulate the heat but also capture it and then give it out into the space. So I used willow for the formwork and then let the fire in, and I wanted it to burn all the way through and out so that it was kind of draw it up as though if it was in the autotuber, it could be like the centerpiece to the space that everything surrounds. This one is earth from site, so this is literally just what's there, and it's hard but nowhere near as hard as these samples with the clay in it. So it says not enough clay in the soil from site, and to use it as a building material you might have to add extra clay in. And then this is a sample from site that I've then baked in the oven, and it has gone a lot harder, but the particles don't bind together, they do just start to disintegrate. Yeah.